Ah, just when I think I'm out, they pull me back in. Hooah! Godfather Part III, released in 1990 and is directed once again by Francis Ford Coppola, who has also directed the other two entries in this Godfather franchise. And this film is starring Al Pacino, hooah! Diane Keaton, Talia Shire, Andy Garcia, Eli Wallach, Joe Mantegna, Bridget Fonda, George Hamilton, and Sofia Coppola. And the reason why we're talking about The Godfather Part 3 today is because it was a PayPal recommendation and donation from a longtime contributor and supporter of this channel, Dr. Camp. You strike again. Thank you very much for the recommendation and recommending this entire trilogy. If any of you out there also want to be like Dr. Camp and help support me and contribute to this channel, you can click on the PayPal link that is on the homepage of my YouTube channel and send whatever size donation you want to me. Attach your recommendation with it, and I'll give you a little shout out, just like what I did with Dr. Camp. And Dr. Camp, this is the conclusion of one of the best franchises, I guess, people are claiming in the history of movies. But man, what a sour note to go out on. Michael Corleone has been the head of the Corleone crime family for many years and is reaching the end of his life. But to ensure the longevity of his family and legitimacy of his family, he is fighting for stakes in the financial decisions of the Catholic Church. And on the other side of things, Michael's nephew Vincent, who you all remember from the first two films, right? Yeah? Me neither. But apparently he's back in town and he is eager to become part of the family. So Michael takes him under his wing to eventually hand over the reins of the entire crime family to him. And we have other crime bosses here trying to take control of the Corleone family because they know Michael is weak, they know he is dying, and they know that his attention is elsewhere because he's trying to take over the Catholic Church's banking and funding, and he wants their money so that he's like the richest person in the frickin' world, even though he already has everything. Michael Corleone, he's just a greedy son of a bitch. And I purchased this movie many years ago when it was originally called The Godfather Part 3, but I believe back in 2022 or 2020 during the pandemic, they rebranded it as The Godfather Coda, The Death of Michael Corleone, which I guess was the original title that Francis Ford Coppola wanted to call this film, because he considers Godfather and then Part 2 like its own thing, like they're the main story, and then Godfather Part 3, this movie, is just the epilogue to those first two films. That is a 2.5-hour epilogue, sir. That is bullshit. And I'm also glad they called it The Godfather Part 3, because if you call it The Death of Michael Corleone, that spoils it. That spoils everything. Plus, the death of Michael Corleone that we get in this movie is very underwhelming, because we have to sit through Sofia Coppola's amazing death scene. Dad? And then Michael freaks out. He is grieving and he's so angry, and we get a slow dissolve transition to him like 10, 20 years later, looking like the great Gonzo from Sesame Street, and he just dies of a heart attack or old age or whatever. He's just sitting in the middle of his little house square and he just falls to the ground. That is it. Plus, this performance of Al Pacino as Michael Corleone doesn't feel like Michael Corleone. Al Pacino feels like he's Al Pacino. It doesn't feel like he is the Michael from The Godfather and then Part 2. He's cracking jokes, he has a smile, he's trying to get back in good graces with his ex-wife, and he's being charming, he's being lovable in some points. And that is not the Michael that we know and that we've kind of loved in the first two films. It just felt like it's Al Pacino kind of dancing around and going hoo-ah! Then Andy Garcia shows up and he's talking about how he's the nephew of Michael and he's part of this family and he's been around for ages, so we should all know him and respect him. Like, I've never heard your name mentioned once, but apparently you're a thing in this family and we all love you, so yeah, sure, you take the reins. You're the new Godfather, why not? And then Vincent falls madly in love with Mary, who is Michael's daughter, played by Sofia fucking Coppola, the daughter of the director. Now I know why you got the role, and I know why you were not fired from the role. But Mary is in love with Vincent, and they're cousins, and they greet each other like, Hey, cuz. Hey, cuz, I love you, cuz. Hey, cuz, come up to my kitchen and fuck me, cuz. But Michael doesn't seem bothered by it because they're cousins. No, he's only bothered by it because he's grooming Vincent to be the next Godfather and doesn't want his daughter to be a part of that. That is the only reason why he doesn't like this whole thing of them being together. I mean, it's not because they're cousins. And that's fucking weird and wrong. But Sofia Coppola, probably the biggest name out of this movie just from her performance alone. And it's awful. It is one of the worst performances you've ever seen. And I've heard talk about just how terrible it is, and they pale in comparison. This woman can't act. She's a good director. She's directed some great pictures. Stay behind the camera. Don't go in front of the camera and portray a role, because you can't. There's a scene in here where Mary is talking with Michael. They're on a balcony somewhere eating breakfast, and just seeing Sofia read lines, basically. That's all she was doing. She wasn't doing anything. There's Al Pacino, and he's trying his best. You can tell he is trying to pick up this scene or do something with this scene. And in the acting world, it's not your business to go to a director or go to someone and say, like, hey, so-and-so is really bad. You need to fire them. That's not your job. That's the director's job. That's the casting director's job. That's the producer's job. But how hard was it for Al Pacino, who at this point was a pretty big name in the Hollywood world, how hard was it not to go to Francis, the director, to say, hey, your daughter is not good. Get anyone else to play this role so that I have someone and something to play off of in these scenes. Hooah! She is god-awful. There are moments in here where she's just making stink face. I don't know if that's just her resting face, or maybe she was trying to emote some type of emotion on her face, but it looks like she's smelling a really bad fart. Hey, cuz, I want to be with you. Don't you love me? The Godfather Part III, or The Death of Michael Corleone, whatever you want to call it. It is not required viewing if you want to go down a Godfather rabbit hole. Watch the first two films, because those are great, those are fantastic. Is this film terrible? No, it's not the worst movie I've ever seen. I think there are some good things in here. I still think the cinematography is great. Al Pacino, even though he's not really playing Michael Corleone in this movie, it's still Al Pacino, so it's still entertaining. I like some of the story aspects with Michael trying to get involved with the Vatican and their bank and just trying to get in with the Catholic Church. I think that's actually a very compelling story. When all of the mob bosses were taken out of that hotel room and how they went about shooting everybody, I think that was a great little story. But it just felt like there were so many things left unfinished and left undone. There is a story point in here where Michael's son doesn't want to become a lawyer. He doesn't want to become part of the family. He wants to go off and become an opera singer. And Michael's there saying, like, no, you're going to become a lawyer. You need something to fall back on. It's a hard no, and I'm sticking to it. But then, like 30 minutes later, he's totally fine with his son going off and being an opera star, and he's backing him, and he loves him. I'm just like, wow, 30 minutes, that's impressive. It took my dad a very long time to get behind me becoming an actor and getting a master's in theater. Just a lot of moments and a lot of beats that we establish in the beginning of this movie that just kind of peter out over the course of the film and we don't care about. So it's like, well, we were making a big deal about it in the first half of this movie, and then it plays into nothing in the end, so what was the point of even caring about it in the beginning? It's just frustrating. This movie is very frustrating. I wanted it to be better than what it was. How this movie was nominated for Best Picture, I don't know. I mean, I guess I really do know. It's all politics, and it's Francis Ford Coppola, and it's The Godfather. Of course it needs to be nominated for Best Picture. Definitely doesn't deserve to be nominated, though. There are so many other great films in 1990. I couldn't name any of them to you because I haven't looked up the list, but I could guarantee you there were 5 films better than this movie. I'm going to give The Godfather Part III 2 out of 5 Blu-rays. So guys, if you've seen The Godfather Part 3, what did you think about it? What is your ranking of all of the Godfather pictures? Whatever you thought, comment below, let me know what you thought about it. And as always, if you like what you see here, if you like my take on movies, then hit the subscribe button and make sure you hit that bell so the next time I release my next movie review. So guys, I will see you next time on the channel, but in the meantime, be well, be good to each other, and go watch a movie. Take care, guys.